Hello and welcome. You're watching Nothing But the Truth. How does the Congress Party respond to the many references and allegations in the Italian Court of Appeal's judgment in the Augusta Westland case? That's the key issue I shall discuss today with the Congress Party's Deputy Leader of Opposition in the Rajya Sabha, former Commerce and Industry Minister Anand Sharma. Anand Sharma, the Italian Court of Appeal in Milan, in its judgment in the Augusta Westland case, has referred to Sonia Gandhi, Dr. Manmohan Singh, Pranab Mukherjee, Ahmed Patel, Oscar Fernandez. How can you convince the audience that these references are innocent and innocuous and do not suggest impropriety or corruption?
Does the judgment say so?
No, but it's a suggestion.
No, mere reference,
is clearly there.
No. I reject it completely. You see, if what is being alluded to, from what I have gathered from news reports and the various conversations, is that some document which lists these names, asking the British High Commissioner that these are the people who are close associates of the Congress President, they should be targeted. Exact word. Now, it is known globally that business lobbies do contact the ambassadors, high commissioners. In case of our own country, allow me to complete, our ambassadors and high commissioners are asked to or do take up the matters pertaining to the Indian corporate entities, Indian public sector.
So you're saying this is the same thing?
No, it is the same thing. Does that make the person complicit? If you go by WikiLeaks, if you go by such documents all over the world, and there would be many in many capitals of the world today, which would be listing that to target Narendra Modi or to reach Narendra Modi, the people, close associates are Doval, Nripendra Mishra. Does that mean that they have done anything wrong?
I hear your point. I hear your point. Let's therefore go through the main references
There's
one
too much
by
of
one.
Smoke. There is no light in it. Yeah?
Let's go through the references one by one.
Yes.
Let's start with Sonia Gandhi in the letter that
How is she
allegedly... Just a moment. Let me finish.
Yes.
In the letter that he allegedly wrote on the 15th of March 2008, Christian Michel writes, and I'm going to quote, "Since Mrs. Gandhi is the driving force behind..."
There is no letter.
Can I?
No, I'm questioning.
Forgive me. There is
There's
a
no
letter. Yes, there is.
There is no letter.
The letter is in the judgment. I'm quoting from the judgment.
I've seen the document.
15th of March 2008.
It's a typed
is a
paper,
letter.
unsigned.
Never mind. It's a letter still.
No,
it may be unsigned. It's still a letter.
No, it's a typed paper.
It is still a letter.
No, I question that.
But you may, but others don't. Let me now quote from
No,
it.
others may not.
Let me quote.
Has the court accepted that?
Anand Sharma, if you won't even let me put the question, people
Yes,
will think you are deliberately evading and avoiding.
I'm not evading.
Then let me put the
But
question.
I find it laughable.
Can I put the question? This is what the letter says. Since Mrs. Gandhi is the driving force behind...
I know, I've seen that.
Can I, for the sake of the audience, quote it?
Okay.
Since Mrs. Gandhi is the driving force behind VIP and will no longer fly in the MI8, Mrs. Gandhi and her closest advisors are the people who the British ambassador should target. What's the reason why that's there, other than people believe Mrs. Gandhi has a personal vested interest in the acquisition of those aircraft? Why else would it be there?
First of all, I reject this.
Reject what?
The contents of this so-called note.
On what grounds?
Let me tell you. Karan, you should know that Mrs. Gandhi is not authorized and not entitled to fly in MI8. MI8 is used only for the President of the country and the Prime Minister. No other entity uses the MI8.
Maybe that's why she wanted Augusta Westland instead, so that she could fly in Augusta Westland.
I think this is...
That in a sense is what this is saying.
Preposterous to suggest. The process started in 2002. 2003, the then PMO was involved for acquisition of Augusta Westlands. So it predates even the UPA 1. Let me correct it and put the record straight there.
That we know.
It took about 8 years for these negotiations to conclude.
Most of the negotiation happened during UPA 1.
Yes, because the government changed.
Absolutely. And therefore, Mrs. Gandhi being the driving force becomes of material interest.
We are digressing. We are digressing completely.
I'm asking you a simple question.
It's unfair targeting. Let me tell you, this entire discussion over the last few days, I find it deliberate, distortion and deflection. What are we concerned? What's the central issue? Let me get to that.
No, we're not getting to the central issue.
No, I will get to the central issue now.
No, we won't. We're talking today about the references to the Congress Party, and I'm asking you to...
Where is the reference to the Congress Party?
Mrs. Gandhi.
Is there any indictment?
No, it's not an indictment.
I find it preposterous.
I'm asking a simple question.
No, I take strong objection to it.
You may take strong objection.
Yes, I do.
That's your prerogative. I'm still going to ask you. I'm asking a simple question. How do you explain that sentence?
How
How do you explain that
do I have to
sentence?
explain?
Yes, I'm asking
No,
you.
I don't have to explain it.
Well, you must.
I'm shocked.
Because the sentence has suggestions which I
No,
put you.
somebody may say that Mr. Anand Sharma is very influential in the UPA government. Do I have to explain if somebody
If
thinks
that
so?
someone who says it is
Then-
accused of giving bribes, then there is
Listen,
a suggestion that follows.
Then take action. Which government started the action? No. Let me. Don't you check me from coming to the central issue. Central issue was some information was reached that there were some corruption, some allegations. Promptly, the UPA government
You're
started
speaking
action.
euphemistically. I'll put the central question to you if you insist upon it. The central question is this.
Let the viewers know the central issue.
I'll tell
Who
you.
took action?
That doesn't help you.
Which government took action?
Just a moment.
Which government cancelled the contract? Which government forfeited the
Anand
bank
Sharma,
guarantee?
You asked what is the central question. I'll
Yes.
put it to you. The central question established by the court in
Yes.
Italy is that bribes were paid full stop. We know that.
has denied
Number
that?
two,
Why did
they
we
were
cancel
paid
the
to
contract,
Indians.
Karan?
No, the question is...
Why did we cancel it?
Anand Sharma.
Why did we seize the money?
Can I finish?
Who went to the Milan
Anand
court?
Sharma.
No.
Anand Sharma,
No,
the point is this, if bribes were paid, are you
No,
seriously
you
saying they
are-
weren't paid to people in government and the Congress party?
How do I know?
Are you saying they were only
I
paid to
reject
people like
it.
Air Chief Marshal
I
Tyagi?
reject it.
You can't reject it.
Yes,
if
prove
bribes
it.
were paid, they would have
Who
to
has
be
said it?
paid to people in
Don't
power.
mislead your viewers.
I'm not misleading my
Yes,
viewers.
you are.
I'm asking a logical question.
No, you're not
Bribes
asking me a
were
logical
paid,
question.
they would
Read
have
the
to be-
judgment.
I am reading the central question as you
No,
insisted.
Karan, I'm sorry.
The central question is bribes
No.
were paid. They have to be
Yes.
paid to people in government. That means someone in Congress. That means people of importance.
Listen,
you
this
can't
is-
deny it. It can't be
this
just
is-
Air Chief Marshal Tyagi.
This is defamatory.
It's not defamatory. I'm
Yes.
not naming anyone. I haven't named a soul.
Congress party,
Someone
you're defaming
in
the
Congress,
entire
someone
party.
in government would have to accept the
I'm
bribes.
saying I
otherwise
reject
it. Makes no sense.
Congress party is not in the business of making deals. It's tarnishing reputations. What is this government doing for the last 2 years? Now allow me, don't interrupt me now. Central issue is corruption, bribes. When the government of the day became aware of it, the government took prompt actions. Who went to the court in Italy? It was our government which filed the case. Are you aware? Who went to the prosecutors in Naples? It was Indian government. That was the Congress.
Can I answer
UPA.
that?
Please.
No, can I answer that? Because Ravi Shankar Prasad has punctured what you're
my
saying
God.
hugely. Just a moment. Speaking to the Indian Express on Friday, that's yesterday, he says that when the CBI filed the preliminary inquiry against Augusta Westland on the 12th of February 2013, Christian Michel was in this country. 24
what I-
hours later, Christian Michel left. And Ravi Shankar Prasad asked the question, this is not a coincidence. And what he's saying is someone in your government tipped off Michel, which is why he left.
What?
24
Wow,
hours after the PE is filed, Michel leaves the country, yet he's here when it's filed and no action is taken. That's the charge.
Who ordered
Ravi
the CBI
Shankar
probe?
Prasad
Who
makes
ordered the
against
ED
you.
probe?
Maybe, but who allowed
Who ferreted the
who
information
tipped off
from
Michel?
Italy?
Who tipped off Michel and
I don't
allowed
know.
him to leave?
Let this
But it
government
happened-
find out.
It happened when you were in power. And it
My
happened
God.
24 hours after the PE was filed.
This is
Doesn't that raise
this is a
questions?
very wild and irresponsible accusation.
Ravi Shankar Prasad, front page of the Indian Express
Does that make him
Friday.
responsible?
You haven't answered it as yet.
He is a minister in this government for 2 years.
Then answer it.
Let
Answer it.
him answer, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They have all the agencies. What are they doing for the last 2 years? Using the newspaper and the electronic media to defame.
No.
Why can't they take action? We took action.
Can I come back to the
No,
central question?
I'm being
Because you
very
were so
firm now.
keen on the central question, and I've suddenly discovered the central
Why are they
question.
not taking
the
action?
central question indicts you. It doesn't protect you.
It does not indict
The
us.
central question is this. The Italian court has proved bribes were paid. They were paid to Indians.
Who has said
Clearly,
no?
they would have to be paid to people in government. They can't be paid to
Listen.
innocuous officials and bureaucrats. They have to be paid to people in government.
was in
Who
government?
are those people?
Who? Yes.
They have to be people in your
Yes.
party. They can't be anyone
I
else.
reject it with contempt that it deserves.
Then who got the bribes?
Ask the present agencies and the government. SP Tyagi, the former Air Force chief, was taken into custodial interrogation during our time.
Tell me something.
All the entities were identified.
If you're so clear of conscience,
Yes.
why were people like Vanchu and Narayanan not investigated and not inquired into and not questioned when you were in office? Why did it
should
happen
they
only
be?
afterwards?
Listen,
Why did it happen only
does
afterwards?
the government
Doesn't that
decide who
suggest
should be
a measure of
interrogated?
protectiveness?
Which kind of government are you talking about? Governments decide who should be interrogated or the agencies?
But the
CBI
agencies
and
were
the ED.
prevented by the government.
It's wrong.
They
I
were
reject
given
it.
permission afterwards.
Who has told you that? I reject it.
You reject it?
Yes.
The agencies themselves have been saying so, and
No,
the
no.
questioning of
Let
Narayanan
somebody
and
file an
Vanchu
affidavit in
happened
the court.
afterwards, after you
Let
did it.
somebody file an affidavit that I was prevented.
Okay, let me come straight to the
these are
judgment.
lies being peddled.
Well, maybe you call them lies. Let's
Yes.
come back to the judgment, because the judgment doesn't only cast inferences and references to named people. It talks about the government as a whole. This is what the judgment says. A substantial disregard to arrive at a full explanation of the facts, effectively demonstrated by the procedural behavior of the Indian Ministry of Defence. That disregard clearly is an unhelpful attitude
There
of
could be
your
elements.
government.
There could be elements.
Well, elements are still the government.
In the Air
elements,
Force?
where else do they come from
what
except
is
the government? The Indian
Government is
Ministry of
amorphous.
Defence.
Government is not one
The Indian
individual.
Ministry of Defence, it's
The
named.
Ministry of Defence has how many people?
It's part of the government.
How many officers?
It's part of the government.
Yes. If Air Force and elements were compromised, there could be MOD elements
Just a
also.
moment. Are you saying independent people in the Ministry of Defence without Mr. Anthony and Mr. Dr. Manmohan Singh knowing were being unhelpful? That they were doing it of
My
their own
God.
volition?
Do you think the Prime Minister and the Defence Minister monitor every
I don't
clerk,
know. I'm asking.
every corporal, every wing commander?
The inference here, and it's not an inference, by the way, this is a statement by the Italian
Yes.
court, is
It should be examined.
a substantial disregard to arrive at a
Yes,
full explanation of the facts, effectively demonstrated
Now,
by
let
the
me tell you,
procedural
Karan.
behavior of the
Karan.
Indian Ministry of Defence.
No,
You
let me-
weren't helpful. That's what the Italian court is saying.
Who was not helpful? Karan?
You,
No.
your government.
No, not my government. Please.
But whose government was in power if it wasn't your government?
Can I ask you
They're
now?
talking about
can I
a
ask
period
you,
when UPA2...
Will you allow me to speak or will you keep on interrupting?
Go ahead.
In October 2014, the first court judgment came in Italy. After that, until now, this government did not file the appeal. Can you answer this question for me?
This is a
Have
question
you asked
I
this?
accept that you have a right to ask.
No.
However, it's a
Let me-
question that points in the direction
No.
of the laxness of the present government.
Please, I have to ask you
however,
more questions.
interviewing you.
I have to ask you more
however, am
questions.
interviewing you about evidence
What
that
interviewing
suggests
me?
your
I'm not in the
government
dock,
is lax.
Mr. Karan Thapar.
But I am interviewing you.
Nor my
I am
government.
interviewing you.
You can interview me.
I am. That's all I said.
No, but I will only object to if the lies are being
No,
heard
it's
at
not
us.
lies. I'm going to quote from
Yes.
the judgment again. This is what the judgment says, and this time it's verified by the Economic Times, because the Economic Times has reported this instance. The judgment says that in
Then what
April-
happens if
Just a
Economic Times
moment.
has reported?
Just a
Let
moment.
the Indian Supreme Court take cognizance
Can I
and
finish?
let this present
Can I-
government
can I finish the
come out
question?
with the truth.
Can I finish the
Yes.
question? The judgment says that in April 2013, Italy asked India for full documentation to enable prosecution. The Indian government gave just 3 documents after a delay of 11 months. That's further proof of your not being helpful.
I'm not aware of that.
But you may not be, but the Italian court has recorded this. I'm now making you aware of it and proving that the Indian government was unhelpful.
We don't know who was unhelpful.
Well, maybe.
Let that person be named.
But absolutely. But that person was part of your government.
Listen.
That's what I'm
is
saying.
I'm
We don't
again
know who he is.
asking
His
you-
identity is not
I'm
known, but we
asking
know he's
you,
part of your government.
Karan, please, let's be responsible. A government is something which is very big. A government is, each ministry may have thousands and thousands of people. Their decisions are taken at various levels. Who delayed? If this is true, that should be found out. There could be undersecretary, there could be a
Can
secretary,
I
there
come
could be a
back to
joint
that? Do
secretary.
you really believe that someone as junior as an undersecretary or even a joint secretary
I don't
would
know.
delay deliberately?
I don't know.
And they wouldn't do it without a sign from someone senior
Listen,
like the
I
minister?
I have a question.
This is the
Ministers,
Indian government.
First of all,
in India, nothing moves without the minister saying it should.
Can I tell you one thing? Nobody can doubt the integrity and commitment of A.K. Antony or of Dr. Manmohan Singh. That would be a sad day for this country if people were to question these people also.
Can I come to Dr.
Number two,
Manmohan Singh? Can I come to Dr. Manmohan Singh?
if
I want
government
come
had
to
anything
what
to hide,
you say no one can
which
doubt.
government would cancel the contract,
saying no-
register cases, confiscate the bank guarantees, confiscate the helicopters? The government on its own went to the
Yet
court
you
in
are
Milan.
also
Has this court recorded
yet
it?
you are also accused by the same court of disregard and
Who went to the Milan
unhelpfulness,
court?
of not supplying
I'm
documents when
asking
they
you,
were wanted, of only
it's
giving
strange.
3
I
after an 11 months delay.
I find it contradictory. A government of India which feels that this should be taken forward and goes to Italy and files a case in the Milan court. Why are you glossing over this fact?
I'm not glossing over it.
So this means the government was
I
insincere.
conceded you had a point when you said
So then-
that in October 2014
Yes.
the new government didn't go on appeal. I conceded that. But that's a point to put to another person, not
But
to you. Let's come back to Dr. Manmohan Singh. You mentioned Dr. Manmohan
Yes.
Singh. The judgment
started
also
it.
refers to Dr. Manmohan Singh. In a letter handwritten in 2013 July, Giuseppe Orsi, whilst in jail, writes the following: call Monty, that's the Italian Prime Minister of the day, or Ambassador Terracciano, that's one of his top foreign policy advisors, in my name to ask him to call PM Singh. Why is that reference to PM Singh there? How do you explain it?
I don't know.
You
Somebody
don't know.
in prison
Can I suggest
has
a reason?
written this document.
Can I suggest a reason?
And Master, please,
you don't
please allow
know.
me.
Let me
please,
suggest a reason.
Please allow me.
Okay, then tell me.
Yesterday only, the TV channels were flashing this advisor Terracciano, his statement under oath that he never met the Prime Minister, he never ever discussed
I saw
this
that,
matter.
but I'm not asking whether he rang the Prime Minister. I'm asking why did Orsi suggest he
I
should
don't
ring
know.
the
Why
Prime
don't you
Minister?
go and interview Orsi?
Then let me give you a suggestion.
I don't even know the man.
Forgive me. The clear inference.
He
no,
is
no.
convicted.
Let me answer
How can
the
I
question.
speak for him?
You asked me a question. Let me answer it. The clear inference is that Orsi believed he was close enough to Dr. Manmohan Singh to request a personal favor for help. That's the clear
Who
inference. You
was
can't deny
close
it.
to Manmohan Singh?
Orsi believes he was close enough. Believes he was close enough to ask for personal
Karan,
help, and he is.
I have never heard anything more ridiculous than this.
Really?
Yes.
Then let me quote the Italian judgment to you, because this is
He
how
may
the
say
Italian...
anything.
No, just a moment.
He is a person who was accused, who was in prison. He is asking their Prime Minister and his foreign policy advisor.
Because he believes he's close enough to ask a favor of Dr. Manmohan Singh. That's why he's making the request.
His belief
That's
may
the
be
inference.
absolutely
That's
unfounded.
the inference. You can't deny it.
No.
Okay. Let me quote the Italian judgment.
One Prime Minister, listen.
No,
now,
no, come
let
to the
me,
Italian judgment.
I'm not...
No, just a moment.
I'm going to first pin you here.
Pin me? Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Italian Prime Minister of the day, could he, if he wanted to, speak to the Prime Minister of another country?
Of course he could. He could have picked up the phone and done it any time.
The fact of the matter is that he did not.
Maybe.
The fact of the matter is that he did not.
The fundamental question is
And the
not
fact
whether
of the matter is his
Terracciano
foreign
or
policy
Monty
advisor
rang
did not.
Manmohan Singh. The fundamental question
Nobody
is
rang.
Orsi thought they could and should.
They may
Because
think.
Orsi,
A criminal may think anything.
Orsi thought he was close enough to request a favor from Manmohan
It's a
Singh.
joke.
That's
It's
the
a joke.
inference.
No.
Maybe
this
a joke.
means that he was close, or he thought he was close to his Prime Minister. Sorry, not to my Prime Minister.
Hang on.
You're getting it
Let
wrong.
me quote from the Italian judgment, okay? This is how it interprets Giuseppe Orsi's handwritten note. The judgment says, and I'm quoting, "We are obviously not in a position to determine what was the message, but the same can be guessed. A, on the basis that the Indian government was unhelpful to requests when we made for assistance, and B, on the basis that the defendants are alleged to have tampered with evidence." And what the court is suggesting is that it's quite possible Dr. Manmohan Singh may have done something improper to help Orsi. That's what the court is suggesting. It's suggesting it quite clearly.
Well, I reject that suggestion.
You may, but they're suggesting it.
No. Has it reached finality? I think there are due processes of law, even in that country, to be completed. And let this judgment, I am throwing a challenge to this government, be brought here, and let the Supreme Court of India monitor the probe, so that whoever is guilty of any act of commission or omission is identified, named and prosecuted. Let's not...
That's a wise suggestion. I accept it up front. I accept it up front.
Why this probe was not taken forward?
One of the people who'd have to be monitored.
All people were identified, including the Chandigarh-based companies, the Mauritius, the Tunisian, during our time.
Anand Sharma, one of the people who would have to be monitored is a gentleman with the initials AP, because the so-called budget sheet under the letters POL, which stands for presumably politics, mentions the initials AP, and against that entity, allegedly 6 million euro were paid, and everyone is suggesting
that somebody established
everyone is suggesting that AP is likely to be, or possibly could be, Ahmed Patel.
Well, from the Google search, how they have reached
that conclusion? Not just the Google search.
Yes.
There are two other reasons for suggesting it, and I'll give them to you. The only person close to Sonia Gandhi with the initials AP is Ahmed Patel. And secondly, if bribes were to be paid, then it makes sense to pay it to
Are we not defaming people and destroying reputations without any evidence, Karan, here?
Destroying reputations. I'm
Ahmed Patel has categorically denied it. Today, Congress is not in power.
I willingly accept his denial, but what do you say to people? But what do you say to people who turned around and say, would he accept? What do you say to people who turned around and say, would he accept? Karan Thapar accept his denial.
The so-called author, the alleged author, has given an interview which was published in Hindu, and
Christian Michel.
Listen, yes, I read that interview.
So did I.
Yes. And
the most important
one of the journalists is also Suhasini Haidar.
The most important thing about the interview is that although in the interview as published on the web, he says, no, hang on. The most important thing about the interview is that although in the interview as published on the web, he says twice that the Gandhis received no money, the paper chose not to make that part a part of the interviews published in the paper. It's only in the web, it's not in the newspaper. The journalists concerned left it out of the newspaper, they only put it in the web. Ask yourself that question, why? It can
How
only
can
be,
I answer for them?
presumably,
I can't
only
answer for
because
them.
they didn't accept the answer as truthful.
No, I can't answer
But
for
that's
them.
the point I'm
No.
making to you. It's in the interview as in the web, not in the
frankly
newspaper.
Speaking, Karan, whether Orsi or whether this other person, they are accused.
Who's the other person?
This Christian
Michel.
Now they are accused of committing a crime or having violated the laws. Okay? Now I cannot take anything what they say at the face value either way. Let the truth come out. We had ordered probes. They should have, in 2 years they should have completed. One important thing which I think I need to mention is that 26th of May the present government took office. And in the second week of June, this particular issue that they should be allowed to participate in the defense contracts and in the bids was referred to the Attorney General of India by this government. And the Attorney General's opinion was to allow them. They were allowed to bid for naval helicopters. They have been allowed to come into this country.
The point you're making is that this government has contradicted itself and that this government has a lot to answer, and I'm not denying it. But I'm not talking to someone from this government. I'm talking to someone from the last government.
I have every right to ask about this government.
But except for the fact that I'm asking you the questions about things that your government is alleged to have done.
We did a good thing. Well, we took action.
I'm going to come back.
Listen.
I'm going to come back.
We got every penny back.
I'm going to come back and end on the central question, because you keep saying to me, raise the central question, and I'm going to repeat it once again. The central issue is this. The Italian Court of Appeal has proved that bribes were given. They were given to Indians.
Who is in denial?
And I'm saying, thank you for not being in denial.
No.
Therefore,
that's why we ordered the probe.
If bribes were given to Indians, it follows they would have to be given to people in government. They wouldn't be given to incomploops.
Well,
they
the
wouldn't
name
be given
of
to
the Air Force Chief,
they wouldn't be given to
his
people who
family
don't matter.
and other companies have that has come to the fore.
He can't be the only one, because that
But I don't know
belief.
the rest. That is what the probe is to find out.
Precisely. So what we are agreeing on is that there may well be people in your government who got money. We don't know their names. We don't know their identities.
If
but
you are
logic suggests
insinuating
people in your government took bribes.
No.
Logic suggests
No.
it. Logic suggests
the Defense Minister of India.
I'm not naming any person. But logic suggests people in your government took bribes.
Not necessarily.
But then how can you agree with the fact that the Italians say bribes were paid, and yet you can't accept that they were paid to people who matter? They won't be paid to people who are unimportant.
We know the Air Force Chief is important.
But do you think he's the only one?
Senior officials can be important.
And by the way, it's not proven he got bribes. So let's be clear about him. It's not proven he got bribes. He's only being talked about as a possible person who took bribes. But is he the only one? Is he the only one?
What does the court judgment say, by the way, which you are referring to?
There is no
the Italian court judgment. What does it say?
It says that he is likely to have. It doesn't say it pinpointedly, because as they've also made clear, Indians want the focus. The focus want Indians. They're referred to, but we do know one thing.
Don't you think that we are stretching it too far?
Bribes were paid, and clearly they would have been received by people who matter. Those people who matter would have to have been in government. We don't know who they are, but they would have had to be in government.
Listen.
They can't be chaprasis and peons.
I don't know. Whoever they are, the intent of the government was to uncover.
But you failed.
The truth.
You didn't succeed.
Listen, we started the action.
But you
we rolled
didn't succeed.
it out. Well, we went out of the government. We succeeded to a large extent.
Even now, this government hasn't succeeded. We don't know who got the bribes, but we know that bribes were taken.
Many entities were identified, interrogated.
Can I end
Not
by one
but
last question?
many.
Yours is a major party. It has a history that goes over 125 years. There's so much that Congress has done that India would be proud of. Yet today, for most people, an Italian Court of Appeal has not only proven that bribes were paid to Indians, but most people would say if they were paid, they would have had to be paid to people in power, and that means some people in the Congress party. Doesn't that conclusion worry you?
I find it painful and insulting. That's why I say it deserves to be rejected. It's very unfair targeting. A government which cancelled the contract, a government which went to the court in Italy, a government which went to the prosecutor in that country, a government which seized the bank guarantees, a government which ordered the ED and the CBI probe, a government which confiscated their helicopters, is being unfairly charged. If the government our government had to hide anyone or protect anyone, all these actions would not have been taken. Now for 2 years we are not in office. It is the responsibility of this government, and we want a fair probe. That's why repeating it again, it must be monitored by the Indian Supreme Court so that the agencies report about the progress and the identities are revealed and people are punished.
I let you have the last answer without any interruption because it was only fair that you should have the last word. A pleasure talking to you.